The North is now saying that gold belongs to them. Yes, it's true that gold belongs to them. And nobody has right to take their gold. Nobody has right to take the gold of the North. If gold belongs to them, which is the truth, it's also true that the oil belongs to us. Hey! And nobody has the right to take our oil. You are saying that a gold refinery cannot be built in Lagos, so there is no need for a refinery in Kaduna. It is the same argument. You are saying that a gold refinery cannot exist in Lagos, which is true. It is primary economy, nearest to raw material. You produce nearest to raw material. So there is no need for the Trans-Moroccan pipeline, gas pipeline. There is no need for Dangote refinery in Lagos. There is no need for Olokola LNG. That's the truth. There cannot be two truths. Truth must be one. There can only be one truth. It cannot be two truths. You cannot say one is true in the North, another truth is different in a Jawland. Eyes on.
They don't say that's abnormal. They don't fit.
Hey, shut up your mouth. Muluku, muluku. Muluku, muluku. Alagba muluku. Ogiye muluku. Bambo muluku. Muluku, muluku.
One thing you cannot take away from Asari Dokubo is the entertainment skill in his utterances. I mean, I was almost lost in thoughts when I was actually watching him dance and sing just like the way he did. I mean, he spikes everything up. But then on a serious note, for decades, the Niger Delta has carried Nigeria on its back. I mean, its land drilled, its rivers polluted, its people impoverished, while the wealth from its oil built cities elsewhere. Now, Asari Dokubo is speaking up again, and this time, he's not whispering. He is asking a question many Nigerians avoid. If the North can openly say their gold belongs to them, why is it a crime when the Niger Delta says the oil belongs to them? From gold refineries to oil pipeline, from Kaduna to Lagos, Asari's argument exposes a long-standing contradiction in Nigeria's resource control debate, one that has fueled anger, militancy, and unrest in Niger Delta for generations. Is this another dangerous rhetoric or an uncomfortable truth Nigeria has refused to confront? Now, let's talk about it. I am going to start with why Asari Dokubo's argument is a very valid one and must be addressed once and for all, because this has breeded a lot of militant leaders and Asari Dokubo, Tumpolo, and others inclusive. Now, let's start with resource control, which is unequal in Nigeria. Nigeria operates a centralized resource ownership system. What do I mean? All mineral resources, you talk about the oil, the gas, and solid minerals, belong to the federal government. Now, whose communities suffer environmental damage but get little control or limited benefits? Now, Asari's argument exposes a double standard. I mean, when the northern elites say gold belongs to the North, it is always defended culturally and politically. But when the Niger Delta people say oil belongs to us, it is labeled threat, militancy, or treason. And here is the problem. If gold is accepted as a northern resource, then oil must be accepted as a Niger Delta resource. You can't logically accept one and reject the other. And that is the argument. Secondly, let's talk about the environmental cost, which is paid only by the Niger Delta. You talk about the oil exploration, which has brought oil spills, gas flaring, destroyed farmlands and rivers, cancers, respiratory disease, loss of fishing, and farming livelihood. And we all know that when you talk about the Niger Delta, they basically gain their livelihood through fishing. And all of those things are being contradicted by the exploitation of this very oil. Yet, refineries are built far away, Kaduna State, Lagos State, and profits are centralized and communities receive crumbs. I mean, what is 13% derivation after decades of agitation? Asari's Kaduna refinery argument is very powerful for me because if gold cannot be refined in Lagos, oil should not be refined in Kaduna. This is about fairness, not hatred. Now, number 3, militancy was a reaction, not a creation. The Niger Delta unrest did not start because people love violence. It started because peaceful agitation failed, petitions were ignored, environmental destruction continued, oil wealth funded development elsewhere, while the source region is undergoing decay. Militancy became the language the state finally listened to or finally understood. Now, historically, the unrest in Niger Delta is beginning to repeating itself because every time the Niger Delta issues are ignored, the cycle repeats. I mean, the marginalization, the protest, the state repression, armed resistance, negotiation only after violence. That is why Asari Dokubo's warning should be taken seriously, not dismissed. Notably, we have many of these Niger Delta militants, both past and present, and these men emerged from the same unresolved injustice. Now you talk about the likes of Isaac Jasper, the pioneer, starting from 1966, declared Niger Delta Republic. You talk about Asari Dokubo. You talk about the government himself, Epomopolo, that is generally known as Tompolo, and currently the pipeline security contractor. You talk about Henry Oka, and Tompolo's current government contract proves one thing clearly: the Nigerian state negotiates only after force emerge. But then the question is, how does the appointment or giving contract to Tompolo affect every other Niger Delta? That we will discuss. Now, this is why ignoring this very argument is dangerous, because if Asari's position is brushed aside, old wounds reopen, youth radicalization increases, new militant groups will definitely emerge. Oil infrastructure becomes unsafe again because they will definitely go after it. Nigeria's economy suffers massively. Now, peace in the Niger Delta region has always been transactional, not justice-based. That is the real problem. So, Asari Dokubo is not inventing a new argument. He is actually restating a historic injustice. You cannot centralize wealth, localize pollution, and expect external peace. Now, let's be clear by stating why appointing a few like Tompolo does not solve the Niger Delta crisis and would never solve it. This is not an attack on Tompolo as a person, but this is about policy, impact, and justice. The Niger Delta problem has never been about one man, one group, or one contract. It is about millions of people whose land produces Nigeria's wealth, but whose life reflects on poverty, pollution, and neglect. So the question is simple: does appointing or contracting a few former militant leaders meaningfully improve the daily lives of ordinary Niger Deltans? And the honest answer is a capital no. Now let's analyze this. First, limited benefit. Narrow reach. Yes, pipeline surveillance contracts may reduce vandalism in some areas. Yes, a few youths are engaged as guards or operatives. But let us be honest, how many fishermen have returned to clean rivers? How many farmers now cultivate fertile lands again? How many communities have functional hospitals, clean water, or quality schools because of this very contract? The answer is very, very few. That is, if there is any. What we see instead is benefit concentrated around individuals and their immediate networks, while the broader population remains excluded. And that is not development. That is not impactful. That is containment. Secondly, the elite settlement is not social justice. The Niger Delta crisis is structural, not personal. It is rooted in federal ownership of oil resources, environmental destruction without remediation, economic exclusion of host communities, constitutional arrangements that deny local control. You cannot fix a broken structure by settling a few influential figures When government rewards individuals without addressing resource control, environmental justice, community ownership, local economic empowerment, what it does is to buy temporal silence, not lasting peace, because definitely another Tompolo or Asari Dokubo would emerge someday. Third, this model incentivizes future conflict. One dangerous message this very approach sends is this: if you want attention, become violent. If you become influential enough, you will be rewarded. That is not speculation. History has proven it. Every time a militant leader is absorbed into the system, new group emerge. Younger militants feel excluded. Violence becomes a bargaining tool. This is why unrest in Niger Delta never truly ends. It simply changes faces. Fourth, ordinary Niger Deltans still pay the real price. Why and how? Why contracts are awarded? Rivers remain polluted. Gas flaring continues. Health problems rise. Youth unemployment persists. Women and children suffer the most. Now, pipeline security does not clean oil-spilled communities. It does not compensate displaced families. It does not restore lost life. It does not give communities a voice in decision making. So, peace without dignity is not peace, it is survival. Now, the fifth one is for the fact that the security of oil is always more prioritized over welfare of the people. Let's be honest again, these contracts are primarily about securing oil production, protecting federal revenue, and preventing disruptions. So you see that they are not designed to transform the Niger Deltans. If oil stopped flowing tomorrow, these contracts would disappear, but the pollution would remain. That tells you everything about government priority. Now, sixth, you also talk about why the arguments like what Asari Dokubo is actually saying now still resonates. Now, when people see gold treated as regional property, oil is always treated as federal property. I mean, in full control. They now localize pollution, but profit is always centralized. They ask a fair question: why must the Niger Delta carry the burden without control? So, until Nigeria addresses the genuine resource control, the environmental remediation, host community ownership, inclusive development, voices of resistance will never disappear, no matter how many Niger Delta militant leaders are settled. So what are we talking about? The Niger Delta does not need more contracts to a few individuals. It does not need more elite settlement, more temporal calm. What it needs is justice, not appeasement to few. Development, not dependency. Inclusion, not negotiation after violence. Conclusively, this conversation is not about hating the government. It is not about attacking individuals. It is certainly not about denying the need for security. It is about asking a deeper question Nigeria has avoided for too long. Can a nation build lasting peace by settling a few while many remain excluded? From resource control to environmental justice, from gold in the north to oil in the Niger Delta. The contradiction is clear. You cannot localize pollution, like I stated, and centralize profit and still expect unity and calm. Appointing or contracting powerful figures may bring temporal calm, but calm is not justice, and silence is not consent. The Niger Delta crisis did not start with militancy, and it will not end with contracts. It will only end when the people who bear the cost of Nigeria's wealth also share in its ownership, its decision, and its future. Until then, this issue is not solved, and that is my stand on the Niger Delta militancy and oil resource control problem. So don't forget to smash the subscribe button, subscribe to this very channel, like this video, leave your comment. Let's understand your own opinion.